channel, subscribe to the channel. Yes, right now, tonight, there's some interesting things going on. I'm not really into the circus, but I do want to see Jake Paul get knocked the heck out by Anthony Joshua. I want to see this. And I'm thinking to myself, if the fight goes the distance, it was rigged. It's paid off. Because there's a lot of money behind the scenes when it comes to Jake Paul. And, Jake Paul, he's not a real boxer. He's a YouTuber, influencer. And Anthony Joshua hasn't fought in a while, but he is a two-time champion. He's a real champion. And he's a gold medalist. And he's very accomplished. And he is a real boxer with skills. And I believe that Jake Paul is willing to fight him because he just wants to make the most money possible and probably thinks that he has a chance with Anthony Joshua, because Anthony Joshua, I mean, he don't have the best chin, but I don't think that Jake Paul is gonna put him in a position where he's gonna be threatened. I don't think so. He doesn't have enough skills to actually compete with somebody like Anthony Joshua, and plus he's tall. If Anthony Joshua does what he's supposed to do, throw the jabs, set him up, and use the fact that he lost a little bit of more weight on purpose so he can be more agile. If he uses all those advantages plus his height, he should give Jake Paul hell in that ring and probably knock him out in 3 rounds or maybe 2. But I'm gonna give Jake Paul the benefit of the doubt and say he goes 3 rounds, 4 rounds. But at the end of the day, all he has to do, Anthony Joshua, is set him up with the jab, use his height, don't fight low, don't fight at Jake Paul's advantage, because Jake Paul's a shorter fighter. So all he has to do, Anthony Joshua, is use his feet, footwork, jab, and power, and height. That's it. And his boxing skills, which should be enough for him to destroy Jake Paul. Jake Paul's nothing special, but I believe that if the fight goes the distance, it's rigged. And if they give the fight to Jake Paul by, for whatever reason, it goes the distance, I believe there's politics behind it. But Anthony Joshua has more than enough to destroy a fake fighter in Jake Paul, who's a YouTube influencer. So I really don't like this guy, Jake Paul, and I want to see him go down really hard and really bad. I don't like him. So I just think that it's a disservice to the real boxing fans. They want to see real boxing. So I want Jake Paul to get knocked the heck out. That's right. I said it. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to that channel. Yes, I believe that Jake Paul is not a worthy fighter to fight somebody like Anthony Joshua. And I think that Jake Paul is banking on the fact that, Anthony Joshua, he's had some chin problems in the past, but it was against fighters that are way better than Jake Paul. And Andy Ruiz, I mean, he was still way better and more technical than Jake Paul could ever be in his life. So, whatever he's doing, he's just trying to make the most money, both of them. And Jake Paul wants to prove to himself that he could compete with fighters that were accomplished, like, with a gold medalist like Anthony Joshua and 2-time champion. And remember, he's not Usyk. Jake Paul is not Usyk. So if he thinks he's going to pull what Usyk did, then, he's not even 1% of the level of Usyk. So, he's over here saying that he's an underdog. Jake Paul's not an underdog. He's a privileged guy that has money, and there's nothing underdog about him. So he got to stop lying to himself, saying that he's an underdog. That he's just trying to use the fact that most people don't think that he could beat Anthony Joshua as a point in reference to say that he's an underdog, but he's not an underdog. He's just not a good boxer. That's just what it is. So he's looking at the fact that everybody knows he's not a real good boxer to call himself an underdog. But he's really not an underdog. When it comes to proving himself that he can beat a real champion, former champion in Anthony Joshua, yes, I guess you could say he's an underdog, but he's really not an underdog. He's very privileged. So, yeah, he's reaching for the sky, but he's also going to fall down to the ground when he gets pummeled by Anthony Joshua. But if for any reason the fight goes the distance, or and we know it's paid off and it's all rigged, and basically it was paid off. If the fight goes the distance and nobody gets knocked out, it's rigged. That's the way I see it. And another thing I want to mention, Subriel Matias, he fights January 10th of 2026 against Dalton Smith. But there's one thing that a lot of people are not mentioning. He should dedicate his fight against Dalton Smith to Felix Tito Trinidad, because you know why? Because Felix Tito Trinidad was born on the date that Subriel Matias is going to fight Dalton Smith. Felix Trinidad was born in January 10th of 1973. He's 1 year younger than me. So Felix Tito Trinidad was born on the date that Subriel Matias is going to fight Dalton Smith. And a lot of people didn't mention that. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. I think Subriel Matias should dedicate the fight to Felix Tito Trinidad, because the fight date of Dalton Smith versus Subriel Matias falls on Felix Trinidad's birthday, which is January 10th of 1973. Yes, Felix Tito Trinidad was born on the date that Subriel Matias is going to fight Dalton Smith in Brooklyn Barclays Center in New York. Nobody mentioned that. I'm the only one that mentioned that. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to that channel. I'm the one that said it first. I'm the only one that really knew about that, because a lot of people are not really focused on it like that. Maybe they forgot that Felix Tito Trinidad's birthday was January 10th, but I guess they didn't mention that detail, or they didn't think it was important enough to mention. But I think that Subriel Matias should dedicate his victory and his fight against Dalton Smith to Felix Tito Trinidad. Pay homage to the great Puerto Rican champion, the 5-time champion in 3 weight classes. He was born on January 10th, 1973. Yes. Rizzy Rusman, please. Whatever that means, man. I gave you 15 seconds of fame. I don't know if you're trying to clown me, but it's not working, brother. You need to elaborate. What is the abbreviations? Are those abbreviations, or those ways to say things without knowing how to spell, and you just put like 3 different letters? Let me know, Rizzy Rusman. If you're trying to say something to me and you're not being disrespectful, then okay, my apologies. But if you're being disrespectful and saying PLA and PLS, like meaning please, I don't know what are you trying to elaborate, but I think you should get your spelling correct and say something that's worthwhile for my channel, because I don't want to give you any more fame if you're not going to add to the channel, my brother. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Yes, so I believe that that Subriel Matias, being that he's going to fight Dalton Smith, which I feel is going to be an annihilation of Dalton Smith for all the accusations that were brought up about Subriel Matias with Astarine, which was false allegations and premature news from Mike Coppinger, and they all should actually be sued. Everyone who tried to create a smear campaign on Subriel Matias, they should all be sued by Subriel Matias. I don't know if he's going to go about it like that, but he should. I believe Subriel Matias debe dedicar la pelea a Felix Tito Trinidad, porque Felix Tito Trinidad nació en enero 10, 1973. Él nació en esa fecha que él va a pelear con Dalton Smith en enero 10 de 2026. Felix Tito Trinidad nació en esa misma fecha de enero 10, 1973. So debe dedicar la pelea, Subriel Matias, a Felix Tito Trinidad, para honrar el nombre de Felix Tito Trinidad, un gran campeón, 5 veces campeón en 3 divisiones. Él debe de dedicar la pelea a Felix Tito Trinidad, que él nació en esa fecha. Yes, so I was just telling my Spanish-speaking people that Subriel Matias to dedicate the fight to Felix Tito Trinidad between Dalton Smith and Subriel Matias in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, because Subriel Matias' fight takes place on the date that Felix Tito Trinidad was born, January 10th, 1973. That's when Felix Tito Trinidad was born. So he should dedicate the fight to Felix Tito Trinidad. What do you guys think? Send me your comments and let me know what you think. But hey, I'm the one that mentioned it first out of all the boxing content creators. I'm the only one that mentioned it first. That Subriel Matias is fighting on the same date that Felix Tito Trinidad was born. January 10th, 2026. But Felix Trinidad was born January 10th, 1973. Subscribe to my channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. You heard it first over here. I'm the one that said it first. No one else has really emphasized the date of Subriel Matias' fight with Dalton Smith being on the same day that Felix Trinidad was born. Nobody else has mentioned that. Yes. Thanks for tuning into my channel, everybody. I'm just waiting for more people to tune into the channel. So far, only one person is tuning in, and he's saying the same thing, which I don't really understand what he's trying to say. It makes no sense. I want you to add and contribute to the channel. Contribute to Tony Also Knows Boxing and give me your comments. What do you think about Subriel Matias fighting on the same day that Felix Tito Trinidad was born? His fight date in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn is the same day that Felix Tito Trinidad was born, January 10th, 1973. He's fighting January 10th, 2026. So nobody really brought that up. No boxing content creator has ever brought that up. I didn't see anybody talk about it. I'm the only one that mentioned it. Tony Also Knows Boxing. Subscribe to the channel. Ningún otro creador de contenido de boxeador ha mencionado que la pelea de Subriel Matias en contra de Dalton Smith cae en la misma fecha que nació Felix Tito Trinidad. Felix Tito Trinidad nació en enero 10, 1973. La misma fecha que va a pelear Subriel Matias en contra de Dalton Smith en el Barclays Center de Brooklyn, en Nueva York. Nadie ha mencionado eso. Yo soy el primero que lo ha mencionado. Tony Also Knows Boxing. Suscríbete a mi canal. Yo soy el primero que lo dije. Tony Also Knows Boxing. Subscribe to that channel. Sí, ¿y qué tú piensas de eso? Que tú crees que Subriel Matias debe de dedicar la pelea a Felix Tito Trinidad en honor al nombre de él, porque la pelea cae en la misma fecha. La pelea que entre Subriel Matias y Dalton Smith cae en la misma fecha de cuando nació Felix Tito Trinidad. Nació enero 10, 1973. Nadie lo ha mencionado. Él debe de dedicar la pelea a Felix Tito Trinidad, Subriel Matias. Melaza con sabor, no. Él dice que no debe de dedicar la pelea a Felix Tito Trinidad. Si la pelea cae en la misma fecha que nació Tito Trinidad, enero 10, debe de dedicar la pelea a él. Eso es lo que yo pienso que debe de serlo. Sería bien bueno. No sé si eso será mucha presión para Subriel Matias, pero yo creo que es una buena manera de honrar a Felix Tito Trinidad, el mejor boxeador de Puerto Rico, que nació en la misma fecha que Subriel Matias va a pelear con Dalton Smith. ¿Qué ustedes piensan? Déjame en los comentarios y me dejas saber qué tú piensas. Y qué tú piensas de Jake Paul en contra de Anthony Joshua, que yo creo que Anthony Joshua le va a ganar y debe de noquearlo. Pero creo que si la pelea va a la distancia, fue comprado. Yo creo que si la pelea va a la distancia, fue comprado. Y si gana Jake Paul por un milagro, yo creo que fue pagado también. So I feel like if the fight goes the distance with Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua, if it goes the distance, it was rigged, it was paid off. And if Jake Paul wins the fight, I think it's rigged too. So I don't know like what they worked out behind the scenes. Yo no sé qué clase de negocio hicieron atrás del escenario con Anthony Joshua y Jake Paul. Tú sabes que en el boxeo hay muchas cosas que pueden suceder porque es corrupto todo. El deporte ese el circo de Jake Paul con los boxeadores, cualquier cosa puede suceder políticamente, corrupción. Le pueden pagar más dinero a Anthony Joshua para ir a la distancia o para perder y para que gane Jake Paul, no sé. Pero yo creo que Anthony Joshua es súper superior a Jake Paul. Jake Paul no es un boxeador verdadero y Anthony Joshua es un olímpico, medallista de oro y 2 veces campeón, y tiene más de lo suficiente para dominar y aplastar a Jake Paul. So I just basically said that Jake Paul is not on the level of Anthony Joshua, and Anthony Joshua you know, I don't know what deals they made behind the scenes. If they're gonna pay him more money to lose, or you know, Jake Paul to win, I don't know. But if it goes the distance, I think it was rigged and it was fixed. And if Jake Paul wins, more than likely it was fixed too. But I don't know. I believe that Anthony Joshua has more than enough to destroy Jake Paul, and I want him to destroy Jake Paul. I made a bet with my son. $20. Yeah, subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. He's not, my son don't even work. He's only 15 years old. He don't work, so I don't know where he's gonna get that money from. But it's just just to teach him a lesson about real boxing versus fake boxing. Yep. So yo hice una apuesta con el hijo mío que tiene 15 años, que dice que Jake Paul va a ganar, pero yo le dije a él que cómo él me va a pagar a mí si él no tiene dinero. ¿Cómo me va a pagar a mí si yo gano? So, esto es para enseñarle una lección de el boxeo verdadero prevalece en contra del boxeo falso de Jake Paul. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. Suscríbete a mi canal. Tony also knows boxing. ¿Qué tú piensas de la pelea de Subriel Matías? ¿Tú crees que Subriel Matías contra Dalton Smith, él debe de dedicar la pelea a Felix Trinidad porque la fecha de la pelea cae en la misma fecha del cumpleaños de Felix Trinidad, el nacimiento de Felix Trinidad. Felix Trinidad nació enero 10, 1973 y la pelea de Dalton Smith en contra de Subriel Matías en Brooklyn, Barclays Center, es la fecha de enero 10, 2026. So, yo creo que debe dedicar la pelea a Felix Trinidad. I think he should dedicate the fight to Felix Trinidad. I think Subriel Matias should, but I don't know if he's gonna do that after the fight. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. Let me know what you think. Should Subriel Matias dedicate the fight that he's having with Dalton Smith to Felix Trinidad because Trinidad was born on the same day that he's gonna fight? January 10th, he was born on the same day. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. I believe Anthony Joshua will win this fight, and I want him to knock out Jake Paul because I don't like Jake Paul. Jake Paul's not an underdog. He's privileged. He is a privileged person. He doesn't deserve to be in a position that other fighters that should get a fight with Anthony Joshua that are actually more worthy than him. I just feel like Jake Paul, he just has a popularity because he's a YouTube influencer, but he's not a real boxer. And you don't deserve to fight Anthony Joshua, a legend like that. But he wants to prove himself. He wants to prove himself, and he got the money to do it and the popularity to do it. But I don't respect that. Real boxers want to see him get knocked out, and including me. Real boxing fans want to see him get knocked out, including me and everybody else watching my channel. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. Peace. Subscribe to that channel. Don't be afraid of the truth. Subscribe to it. Don't be afraid of clicking like and subscribing to the truth.